Chapter 10. Vern snuck into his cabin that same afternoon, knowing full well that he shouldn't even be there during the daytime, in case one of those swamp boys plucked up the courage to set foot on the island. Lord knows he had disappeared a few of them over the years, just to send a message to the rest. But there was always some bane-eyed simpleton looking to make a name for himself by tracking down the Honey Island monster. "This ain't even day, Honey Island, you dumbass!" Vern had shouted at the one guy before he sunk him in the bayou. But he didn't do that anymore. What he usually did was sink into the water and hide out until the latest backy-chewing would-be monster killer went on his way, praying he wouldn't stumble across Vern's shack with TV, beer cooler, and satellite link snaking down from the cypress canopy. "Not today," thought Vern, cracking the seal on his first bottle of vodka of the day. "Today, I torch any motherfucker who sticks his nose into my hallowed ground. Screw it! I am done hiding." Vern was no fool. He knew what was going on. The black dog has got me in its jaws. These spells were unpredictable, and often accompanied by migraines so severe that Vern felt like the top of his head was going to peel right off. His core temperature went sky high, and he could melt his way through a tub of ice in 20 minutes, if he had a tub, or any ice to spare. The problem was, the blues used to creep over him, a gradual trough, then a slow climb up the other side. But now his mind knew what to expect, and ramped things up straight away, from 0 to critical, in a matter of minutes. The slightest trigger could set him off. A fishbone in the teeth, a bad bowl of gumbo, or in this case, the slightly more serious matter of his only friend going down into the earth. The depression had taken hold of him when old Wax had gone down, and only gotten worse since. When these moods came over him, Vern felt like he was trapped in a dark tunnel with nothing ahead but more darkness. Endless night with only momentary flashes of light to distract him. Light, he thought now. What fucking light? I can't even go in the daytime no more. And that was when his thoughts came, like, why bother? Why the hell bother? Ain't you lived enough? The temptation that lurked closest to the surface was to go out in a blaze of glory, just slow up on fats and make a beeline for Bell Chase, swoop in there and go full scorched earth, see how much damage he could do before the Navy got the tarps off their big guns. Shit, I could probably burn that base off the face of the earth. It tickled Vern some to imagine the worldwide shitstorm that would follow an event like that. The humans would straight up crap themselves. Washington would be terrified of an impending dragon takeover. No stone would be left unturned, that was for sure. And this was where Vern's gunko fantasy ran out of steam. If Vern cut himself a fiery swath through some armed forces, then you could bet your last quarter that the government would scour every last remote corner of the earth looking for possible threats. And if he wasn't the last, there was only a few of his brothers and sisters hiding out somewhere. Then Vern's actions would condemn all of them with himself. Or even worse, they would be taken alive and subjected to a whole raft of intrusive testing. Also, Waxman's new pacifist ethos must have been rubbing off on him, because Vern didn't enjoy killing humans like he used to. The red mist was lifting a little. He hadn't gotten an unprovoked rage for more than a century, though the way Vern figured it, every rampage had been provoked, if he followed the river back to its source, so to speak. Vern had only killed in order to survive for quite some time. And even then, he kept a clean slate for close to 8 years, ever since an asshole monster had actually found out what he'd been looking for. I'll get one of those flip signs, Vern thought. No homicides in 2,923 days. So, no flying at a naval basis. But Vern still yearned to just not be on occasion, and he would probably have to weather every such occasions before he made through this spell of gloominess. And he made several attempts to get that done. Back in the day, he realized that his neck was simply too stubborn to be snapped by any kind of rope choke combination. Deadly Nightshade just gave him a knee-trembling case of the shits. A bullet to the brain never made through his skull, though he did manage to damage his sinuses when he stuffed a flintlock up his nasal passage. Vern took a high jump a time or two, but chickened out before impact. Once, he chickened out a couple 100 feet too late and inflicted a burned, bumped shoulder on himself for a couple of decades. It still twinged from time to time. Frankly, it was too much pain for too little gain. Or it had been, until now. Because Wax had given him his bag to destroy, in case some dumbass found it and mistook the vials for aphrodisiac. The Gladstone bag of murderous playthings, usually chock full of meth dealers that has long since passed down to the centuries. Usually, Waxman didn't have to dig too deep into his bag for the appropriate murder weapon. But there are a few hidden pouches just in case. Sure, the Mogwai could slice and dice a person better than most, but he could also drop a parasite in one ear, or smear toxic bacteria on the back of the neck. All kinds of subtle but fatal shenanigans. When it came to creative ways to kill a person, the Mogwai made humans look like koala bears. And it seemed to Vern that Mogwai in general had a real taste for that macabre element of the job. But lately, Waxman had lost his gusto in the homicide department. He held on to the bag, though, because you never knew. And now Vern had the bag, stashed inside his wet sack for the swim there. And he knew there was something there that could do him in, because Waxman had told him so, maybe 50 years ago, when he started putting the bag together. Vern remembered the first day Waxman had plonked the Gladstone bag into the orange crate, which had served him as a table before he went all antique-collectory. "You see this hot fire?" he asked, like it wasn't sitting right there. "This here is my murder kit, because you know people are going to need killing if we plan to avoid dying." "Amen, brother," Vern had said, because truer words had never been uttered. The bag was in its infancy at that point, but still, Waxman laid out a fair collection on the crate. Blades, bottles, and pills wrapped in tissue. "That's a lot of shit," Vern had commented. "That bag is like a goddamn clown car." This was back when Vern did a lot of circus references just to piss Waxman off, considering how he had been rescued. "Screw you, Hotfire," Waxman had said. "You see, it's comments like that is why I have this beauty here." The beauty in question was a small patty of herbs and mud wrapped in a balnel leaf. Covered in wax paper, the leaf looked like a hipster vegan snack. Except it wasn't. "Dragon's bait," explained Waxman, "because some dragons are assholes who get to thinking that maybe they can be up on their Mogwai whenever they feel like it. I'm here to tell you, Hotfire, I don't hold with that kind of abuse, and I won't stand for it." Which kind of put them on an even footing. And now, 70 years later, Dragon and Mogwai had grown tight, and there was a ball of dragon's bane sitting on the table in front of Vern. So easy, thought Vern. I pop this little fella down my gullet, lie down in the swamp, and let Wax's pill work its magic. Lie down in the swamp so his body would never be found. And once the notion had him, he wouldn't let it go. Oh, when a fortnight ago he had been a dragon who was prepared to kill whatever it took to survive, that today he sat in his recliner, slugging vodka from the bottle, a creature who could not think of a single goddamn reason to live. "Dragon's bane," Vern had said back in the day. Sounds painful. Even rhymes with pain. Waxman had grinned, his rows of pointed teeth twinkling. "No, sir, no pain. You just get a little buzz, talk some shit, maybe, then take a nap and don't wake up. I don't want no cramping dragon using his last remaining minutes to fry my old ass." No pain, thought Vern now. Just take a nap. An appealing notion. A nap. What else is he gonna do? Live in a goddamn swamp until some tourists got a photograph of him? No. Better to go on his own terms. My own terms? Rotting away to nothing in the swamp mud where we used to rule the skies? Not anymore. Not for a long time. Humans saw to that. Time to finally face facts. The dragon era was over, and it had been over for a long time. He was like the last guy in the world listening to an 8-track. That shit was never coming back. The dragon's bane sat on the arm of his chair now, and it seemed like the wax paper was creakling of its own accord, daring him to grow a pair and get his shit over with already. It's been a while since I had the blues this bad, Vern realized. Guess I was due. And so Vern made a decision. I'm gonna drink for the next day or so. If this funk hasn't lifted by then, I'm gonna eat that there dragon's bane, take myself a final swim. Somewhere nice and deep. And that's exactly what he proceeded to do. about from the final swim. That bit didn't pan out as planned. Squib, all unaware that Constable Hook was on his tail, went about his unique business. Every day the same thing. Up at mid-morning and shake off the sleep funk. Grab some breakfast at the Pearl, followed by his ball boy work behind the bar. Help Bodie set up for the lunch crowd, and flirt a little with Chandra Boyce, who waited on the booths. Because sometimes Chandra would split a cream soda with him on the lull, but usually not. Because Chandra was after an upright boy, and Squib hadn't been in that bracket long enough to prove himself. He was like a junkie a couple weeks under the gear. He needed a few more clean months under his belt. After lunch, Squib was out in the water tending to his nets and traps. Whatever haul he managed went back to the Pearl kitchen and add to his weekly tote. There were usually a couple of items to be picked up from Vern in the general store. The staples were vodka, palm oil, and fresh meat, and there would always be a few extras. These would all have to be packed down carefully in the cooler, and then Squib himself would take himself on a spin downriver, making damn sure to avoid any sort of human interaction, lest he get himself followed and be forced to forego his precious scale. After the drop-off, Squib would collect that day's shopping list and suck on the dragon scale that weighted the list down. Then was out back to collect the ship bucket and take himself over to old Waxman's place for spa fertilization. Sometimes he talked to Waxman, told him how much of a pain in the ass Fern was being, how he had barely set eyes on the dragon these past 10 days, and how he was sure a little remuneration for all these hours he was putting in. Even gas money would be something. Squib felt like he'd be on tenterhooks forever, even though it had been a couple of weeks. He felt like he could remember the sensation of being relaxed, though he could surely picture times when he must have been. Smoking reefer on the levee with Charles Jr., for example. Or joining his mama for viewing of Highlander, which was her favorite movie. Those were easy times, when he had surely felt his troubles lift off his shoulders for a couple of hours, but couldn't put his finger on that sensation right now. It seemed like those things happened to another person in another life, because this particular version of Squib Moreau was enthralled to a dragon. It was nightfall on the bayou, and a weekend to boot, so things were heating up in Petit Bateau. The Pearl had managed to somehow secure the services of Aaron Neville, who had history with Bodie. It was a secret gig, but as soon as word got out that the King of New Orleans was burning up the Pearl's little stage, half a Slidell piled into the bar and grill, and the other half filled up the dock and patio tables. On another night, Squib would hate to miss such a buzzy evening, but he was on the clock now, and Waxman had been very clear that he should never be late. His duties for the evening were twofold: swap over ship buckets and deliver Vern's groceries, which included Cocoa Puffs, Lucky Charms, Cheerios, and a gallon of soy milk. Apparently, the dragon was a breakfast for dinner kind of guy. So far as I know, could be he's feeding Cheerios to the catfish. It ain't like I ever lay eyes on him. So, Squib was no less than dumbfounded to find the dragon actually present when he wheeled the cooler into the shack that evening. Vern was lolling in his easy chair, plates and scales glowing in the TV light. A bottle of vodka drooping from two claw fingers in one hand, and what looked like a half a protein cookie in the other. The boy was further surprised when Vern said, "Looks like you ain't the one dying after all, kid. Looks like it's me." The dragon was inebriated as all hell, judging by the slump of him, but Squib had heard of a boatload of drunken declarations working Bodie's bar, and he felt this one had a ring of truth to it. "Just one more bite of this here ship biscuit, and off to sleep I go. Bye-bye, cruel world. Then you can blab to whoever you like, but no one will believe you." This was confounding to Squib, as he didn't know what action to take. Should he let the dragon go on his merry way, even if he had a choice in the matter? Or should he do something to save him? "But I brought you cereal!" exclaimed the boy, which seemed a lame thing to mention given the situation. "And mineral water, too, from France!" The dragon cocked his head like this might change his mind. "Nope," he said, then, tossing the rest of the biscuit down his gullet. "Ain't enough." Vern washed the snack down with a slug of vodka. His teeth clunked against the bottleneck. "Off home now, boy. I don't know exactly what side effects this dragon bane is gonna have, Could be I'll go full-blown exorcist. Squib had seen that movie mostly because his mama had absolutely forbidden him to watch it, and dragging and unleashing a fire hose puke was not something he wanted to be in the path of. But still, a good puke might save him. Squib's little voice had a problem with that. Save him? Why in the hell would you want to save him? Just let the big lizard go, and that's 50% of your problems off the board. Yeah, but dragging, you know? Screw it! Fuck him! And the hell with extinction! Get your ass back in the boat and keep the groceries while you're at it! Even Waxman couldn't blame him for checking out like this. The dragon's eyes were hazy. I've seen things, kid, he said softly. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. That snapped Squib to a little. That it, boss? I gotta tell me he was ripped off from Blade Runner? Tell me something real before you go. Vern squinted and wagged a finger at Squib. You got me there, kid. Blade Runner. I thought you probably would have seen that one, young as you are. I've seen it, said Squib. I've seen all the old movies with Mama. She loves Highlander. Shit, said Vern. There can only be one, right? There can only be one, agreed Squib. And you're it. The one dragon. You want to go out like this? Vern blinked slowly like it was an effort. I don't want to go out, and I don't want to stay in. Know what I mean? Actually, Squib kind of did know. He had some experiences with people who didn't care none for a living. I do get what you mean, Mr. Vern. Times are tough, but we all got shit to take care of. Vern burped. Not me. I got nothing. You all saw that. Not one of your kind ever did squat for me nor mine. The dragon leaned forward, elbows on knees, drooling a little. What's the point? He asked. Maybe the sun will come out tomorrow, you know. But I'm sick of watching the sunrise alone. Squib remembered something his mom had said one time when she came home real tired and found him in bed with a whooping cough, and her new boyfriend was smoking weed from the back porch and could not give a shit about her sick kick in bed. And as she was mopping his brow, Mama talked a little about his original daddy, which she rarely did. If only I could have seen him through the sunrise, she'd said, a tear dripping from her nose. But we weren't enough, me and you. So when Vern made that crack about sunrise, Squib felt himself getting angry. Screw you, Vern, he said. You ain't dying on me. Vern drooled some more. That is correct, son. I ain't dying on you. I'm dying on myself. The hell you are, said Squib, and sprang into action. Or more accurately, ran around a tight circle while he considered what action to spring into. He remembered when Charles Jr. accidentally took a swig out of a bleach bottle, with the reasoning that it contained with similar dimensions to his daddy's rye whiskey bottle. Miss Ingram had taken Charles by the neck like he was a turkey and jammed three fingers down his throat till he puked all over her form. Took the color right out of her blouse. Miss Ingram had admitted that this technique was homegrown and frowned upon by the medical profession. But hell, Charles was alive, wasn't he? And even if he did try the Ingram method, it could be that dragons didn't puke in the same manner as humans. But Vern had referenced The Exorcist, so Squib reckoned he might as well give it a try. Still, he thought, those teeth do look mighty sharp. Squib widened the radius of his run and sagged one of a dozen t-shirts taken from a peg. He wrapped them around his forearm, then said a quick prayer. Jesus, God, help me now. Amen, Jesus, mumbled Vern, his head coming up. You weren't even a good carpenter. No more revelations were forthcoming. A Squib had stuffed as much of his fist as he could at the dragon's windpipe. He really put his weight behind it, grunting with effort, and flashed on a time, years before, when he and Charles Jr. had punched into a bucket of drying concrete to see how far they could go, except this was tighter and ridged with muscles and teeth. Vern met Squib met Vern's eyes, and seemed like the dragon was outraged, for he stood suddenly upright and took Squib bodily with him, and still not a sign of puke. So Squib wiggled in his fingers and they're good, like he was running a finger race, and then planted his feet on Vern's barreled chest and yanked himself free. Maybe a pint of gel-like substance came with him, and Vern hawked and said, "Ah!" goddamn nerve! Ugh. Then he puked up whatever he'd been keeping down there like in a multicolored, multi-textured heave, which washed across the planking like so much bilge. Ah, said Vern. I see what you've done. Oh. Squib wasn't concerned so much as about saving the dragon's life, no more than he had moved to the next stage of his event, that being panic. For the gel-like substance which preceded the vomit had already eaten through his t-shirt, leaving nothing but strands of crisped cotton. Oh, God almighty, said Squib, as the gel marched on, going to work on his arm hairs, crisping them like a tiny 1,000 fuses, and then sinking into the pores, raising tiny funnels of smoke from each one. He yelped in pain and slapped at his arm like he could smother a dragon flame. Ugh, said Vern. Fug. The dragon hawked and spat a lump of gel which burned a neat circle on the floor. Okay, he said. You ain't gonna like this, kid, but it's better than losing an arm. Then Vern dropped his cargo pants, magicked his dragon tackle out of somewhere, and pissed all over Squib's arm. Well, mostly his arm. 1/2 hour later, Dragon and Boy was seated on the deck watching the gear eyes pop up and down on the river's surface. Like whack-a-mole, every goddamn night, said Vern. Like I'm gonna do something unusual after 100 years. You pissed on a kid, said Squib. So that's unusual, I guess. His arm was smooth and a little raw-looking, but no worse than the time he tried one of Mama's wax strips out of boredom. Sometimes when Mama works nights, he gets into things. Vern shrugged. Technically, I marked you. You're lucky I did, kid. Dragon piss got all sorts of properties, including some kind of healing chemical in there. They reckon Mogwai are mostly made from that chemical, which accounts for their healing abilities. Squib wasn't in the mood for a science lesson. From his teenage perspective, getting pissed on was worse than being burned. Having said that, he did mentally add Dragon Piss to the list of things which might grant him superpowers. Dragon Boy. Not bad. The way to think of it, continued Vern, is like aloe vera times 1,000,000. Aloe vera did not sound something like an X-Man will have it useful, so Squib went back to being annoyed. Aloe vera? Why don't you write me a book about that, and I'll read it when I'm old and can't do nothing fun no more? Which was quite a turnaround in attitude for the Cajun boy so far as Vern was concerned. Hey, said the dragon. Watch your mouth, kid. I'm still an apex predator, here. Squib rubbed his arm. I ain't minding my mouth. You's gonna murder me anyhow. How do you figure? Asked Vern, who was actually considering the opposite. If not murdering was the opposite of murdering. Well, I got you in a fresh drop scale, don't I? You were sound dumping yourself in the swamp, so I reckon my life don't even figure on your list of priorities. That's true, admitted Vern, but I ain't so set on killing you no more, not since you punched my windpipe from the inside, even if you only did it for your scale. I only thought that scale this morning, muttered Squib, snapping off a dozen crisp hairs from his forearm. It sounded so like the truth that Vern was visibly taken back. A dragon being visibly taken back in the form of his twin eyelids flickering some, and his tongue wiggling so the nubs looked knocked up against each other. Bullshit, he said. That ain't the human way. Squib screwed his courage into the sticking place, glanced at Vern, and said with no little accusation. You ever think that maybe Waxman was right? That we're all souls? Wax don't know humanity like I do, countered Vern. That boy is only a few hundred years old. Anyway, the whole scale thing was a crock. Dragon's breath might dumb you down a little, but it won't kill you. Instead of relief, all Squib felt was more anger. God damn you, Mr. Vern! Messing with me left, right, and center! Ever since I bumped into you, I've been living on my nerves! Ain't you seen the movies? Being a dragon is supposed to be cool! Squib ran out of steam somewhat at this juncture. It read maybe shouting, God damn you, at a dragon was the new number 1 on his dumb moves chart. For his part, Vern took a moment to let the developments of the past few minutes sink in. After all, these were minutes he hadn't been counting on living to see. Cool, huh? Squib was staring at his forearm like he used to be invisible, but now he could see it. You know the problem with you people? He asked. Vern was surprised. People? I got people now? Dragons? Humans? Anyone who's planning on taking their own life? No, said Vern, a touch irritated. Why don't you tell me, kid? After all, you've been around for all of 10 seconds. The problem is, you don't get shit for the folks that get left behind. I don't got nobody left behind, Vern pointed out. Wax has gone down, and anyway, maybe I've been here long enough. Most people don't believe in me, and those that do want to make me into a nice pair of boots. You ain't got no idea what it's not like to be believed in. That may be true, Mr. Vern, said Squib, but I do know what it's like to be left behind. I know how it feels to carry around like a gun like a lump of gristle that won't pass. I've seen what it does to a fella's mama. All my mama does is cure folks, but she couldn't cure my daddy because what he had was invisible, with no reason for it but chemicals. Your daddy, huh? Said Vern, seeing a light regarding why Squib chose to save his life. The fellow didn't have to be a genius. Yeah, said Squib. He bought himself a version of your shit biscuit. Vern didn't have it in him to sympathize with a human just yet, so he kept his own counsel and listened to the worms popping in and out of the swamp mud. Finally, the dragon grinned a little. So, I ain't cool enough for you, boy. I don't know, said Squib. I can't tell. I'm too busy crapping my pants, burying my friend in shit, and running vodka downriver. Vern was surprised to realize that his own black dog was loping off. The kid's funk was pulling him out of this. And damned if he didn't want to cheer up the little swamp rat a little. You brung vodka? Squib scowled. Yeah, I bought an extra quart just in case. Lucky it did, huh? Now I can get you drunk on and chew on another shit biscuit. You brought the mineral water too? I told you that already, boss. But you was all tin house a gate and stuff. Vern dipped his scale feet into the water and flexed his webbed toes, thinking, okay, Squib. New deal, if you're up for it. I'm all the way up for shit canning the old deal, if that's about the same thing, said Squib, keeping up the belligerence because it seemed to be working for him. Vern grunted, which signaled the end of his tether might be approaching regarding Squib's attitude. Seeing as you saved me, I'm going to upgrade your contract. One-time offer, mind, and no negotiations. You keep running for me while Wax is under, and I'll pay you $150 a week plus a performance bonus if I don't have to pull you up over tardiness or the like. Wax looks after the cash, seeing as I got nothing but gold. So we settle up when he claws his way through the patch. You keep tally. And you won't kill me? asked Squib. Not unless completely necessary is about as far as I can go with that. Squib chewed on this. If it is completely necessary, then just me, said the boy. You leave Mama out of it. Vern reckoned he could do that, so they shook, dragon and boy. Well, holy shit, thought Squib, feeling the dragon's tough, scaly fingers wrapped around his, so he couldn't even see his own fist no more. Now here's something I wasn't expecting this summer to bring, which was more or less what Vern was thinking. After a long contemplative moment, the dragon asked, Say, boy, you surely know how to make a martini? You know, you working in a bar and all?